All right, everyone. Can I all have all cameras turned on so that I can associate faces with the voices? I don't know who else is on the stream here. I believe someone from the Sunrisers has their camera turned off. All right, perfect. Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to DPL 2.0, and this is the first round. Um, The theme is feminism and gender equality, and I hope all of you are well prepped and give us a good debate. This is my first time adjudicating you guys in the DPL, and probably the first time meeting most of you. I know Shreyoshi, but the rest of you are new to me. So, hi, I'm Ravi. I will be your chair. With me on the panel today are Akriti and Kushi, one of whom will be managing StreamYard and the other who would be timing you guys. And as you know, the theme for this round is feminism and gender equality. I hope you guys got a chance to go through the info slide as well, which is the definition of genderqueer that we hope you guys stick in this round of the debate, which is genderqueer people are people who had, have, or plan on changing their birth gender or their gender identity. I hope you guys are well prepared for the motion, which says this House, as the world athletics body, shall create a third category of sports for all forms of genderqueer people. And with that, I request the Prime Minister to open the case from side opening government. Here, here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're good to go.
Good evening, everyone. So, as a side government, what we mainly propose to say here primarily is that this world, as sports like world sports body athletics, we would primarily want that we can create a third category for sports for the gender queer people. So what do we mean when we say gender queer people? From the basic idea that comes in our mind is anything but males and females, but we need to understand that there is a lot of it that comes in between. And every time that we classify the sports in between this male and a female, it's very very tough, and rules are getting complex each and every day to keep it confirmed and keep it just towards each of them, because it's not only about just a male or just a female or any non-binary person, but it's in general, like per person. See, we understand that by nature we are creative in different ways, but again, if we do not create another sector, it's already a lot unfair in the sports department. We do not want that to prevail. That is a main major stance. So what we are gonna do here is we are gonna create another uh, genre or another category for the third, like we cannot call it a third gender, but it's mostly like the non uh, gender queer people basically. So let me define more specifically as to what I mean when I say gender queer people. So anyone who identify themselves as anything different than what they were born with, or typically the society has imposed on them. So there are two different definitions when it comes to gender. It's one is what your preference is, one is what your gender, like what is your gender preference and what is your gender identity. So these two definitions really come to stake at this point. So first thing that we need to understand is what you as a person feel like that you are, what you want to identify yourself as, is completely a person's choice. So I just want to make the things clear in this house before getting into any further POIs on this. And another perspective here is somebody who likes another person. So primarily the external question as to a person liking somebody else might not be the main stake of debate here. The main point of debate here would be identifying that what you yourself identify to be as, and how physically you are towards, putting a fair share of test on. Like, if you are given a test, if you are given a competition, it should be as much as fair as possible. And make sure that there have been elaborate medical tests, to be very specific, in various sports about each and every hormone and everything that a person has. And my DPM will elaborate more with the examples on the same thing, so hold on for it. And moreover, so these things, when you kind of, there have been several instances we have seen that when there were rules about who is a third gender or transgender participating in a female genre with a certain criterias, there have been instances where the people have called out that it is unfair to them. And we do understand it is unfair to the other participants as well, but as well as it is unfair to them, because even though they are earning the credit themselves, they are still not being credited for the same thing. So imagine how unfair this world would be if we at least create a third category for them. And let me bring on another stance on this. So this world where we have understood, where we recognize that this is a necessity for us, that we recognize everyone, we recognize, we respect each other, then why should we again still, at the end of the day, declare that it's going to be only males and females? This is primarily unjust in many simple ways. So at least when we are giving them the recognition that is very much needed in this world, we are giving them the at least an idea that, you are respected, you are recognized, you have been given a category. At least there is a chance that the future generation at least improvises on this. If we are still refraining from giving them the identity in anything, and anything as vital as sports, then how can you expect the other people to follow? So let me go for the stakeholders at this point. So one of them being the World Athletics Club, right? So as you see that like, as the body, the government body, as the World Athletics, they would want their activities to be promoted, they would want more involvement, they would want a fair share. Nobody wants to be, given a burden about injustice. And every single thing being and as an organization, it wants more success. So if you see in that point of view, then creating a new division or a new category for the gender queer people, that can only promote the sports more, influence more participation on their end, cause them to be developed even more. And in total, if you see, it's just the development that we see in both the categories more just in terms of other sports, like in terms of other participants who are either participating, the male or the female. And also okay, now let's go move on to the next category, that is the males or the females who are the other participants, who have often claimed that, they have been treated unfair. So let me emphasize a little more on that. So when you are identifying yourself as a female, and you're structurally and in every way you are a female, and you can see that, you have been working so much hard for something, and even if there is a 1% chance that somebody is a little bit better in any unfair means, then it inherently kicks your brain that, that is the reason I didn't get the chance. So you can't really blame the participants when they claim that they have not gotten the equal opportunity. And every other male that might actually come out saying that, I can't compete when I know that physically we are not the same. That is why these separate categories were created in the first place about males and females. When we know that physically they are different, and their capabilities with the muscular strength and hormones and everything are different. So why do we refrain from at least recognizing the other gender, and at least giving them the credits that they can also compete fair and share with us, alongside us, and have a proper competition with them? And now let's go to the last stakeholder, that is the world as an audience. So now think of the image that you're getting created. If you do not even view them as a equal rights person, if you do not even give them the recognition that is much much needed and has been waiting for so long, at least now if you recognize that, it is at least a chance that world is a better place tomorrow. With that, house government, we proudly present our case here. Thank you.
We thank the Prime Minister for the speech, and we invite the leader of opposition to open the case from side opposition. A request to all the members to keep your times short and have the comment section open, since Akriti is mentioning your times. And also, I would also encourage a lot more POIs, because I would love to see an interactive debate rather than just hearing rebuttals in your speech. All right. So hopefully we get to hear a few more POIs. And with that, I request the leader of opposition to open the case. Could you please state your name before you just get started?
Good evening to one and all present over here. I am Karthik Kumar. I will be the leader of opposition, speaking against the motion that is the there is no need for the third category of sports to be formed for the gender queer people. And I'll starting my speech in three, two, one. Go. Yeah. So panel, first we need to understand there's a term that generally comes when we think about the gender queer people and other people, that's called gender fluidity. This term is generally used, and all these different perspectives come under this broader sense that these are all under the gender fluidity of the people. Now, emphasizing or drawing our attention to the word fluidity means what does fluidity means? Something that is flexible, that is not constant everywhere. So, if we see the word that is gender fluidity, we can understand one thing, that the notion for gender fluidity along different nations will be different from one another. There is not a surety that what is the notion of one country's people toward the gender fluidity will be the same in everywhere. And as a sport, as an athletic body, as a sports organization, there is a certain amount of standardization that should be maintained there. So trying to bring all the countries on a mutual agreement on a topic gender fluidity that itself is different and dynamic over different regions will be a difficult task, first of all, as an athletic body for it to ensure. Second thing is, of course, as an athletic body, it depends upon revenue. It depends upon money to in order to you run it activities, various advertisements, and all the infrastructure that it provides to its players. Now, the gender queer people, when they compete in sports, of course, as we know, the current scenario of the world, it has not gained the awareness along the across the globe is not much for the gender queer people. So, if we see as a financial point of view for from a athletic body, I can say that it won't be very much cost effective activity for the athletic body. Rather, a better course of action would be first in order to spread the awareness of these people along the globe, making people understand that these people are present in our society, making them aware that the feelings of these people must be respected. And then as an athletic body, if they effectively ensure in a if they effectively implement this move, then I think it will bring profit to both the players as well as the body as well. Now let's talk about third world countries in general, those who are conservative in nature. Assuming taking Saudi Arabia, UAE, Afghanistan, here the gender equality rights itself has started so late than the rest of the world, and it's still yet to gain traction among the various everyday people of the countries. Now, of course, when as an athletic body, if it makes sure that there is a third category of people that should be taken into the sports, of course, the very first response from these countries would be denial. The very basic thing will be denial. Here, now the general course of action is if the country doesn't provide players for its any category, there might be a chance that that country's team might be banned from athletics for that event. Now, the country which is already slowly progressing towards gender equality, a radical push like this might actively damage or might actually make the whole movement come back in those countries. Because we can understand, because of few people, because of the people who are different from others, the other players of the country will be get banned, and of course the hatred, or not hatred but at least disappointment will be there, the feeling of disappointment will be there in the countryside across them. So rather than taking this step across the globe, first consider that there are some countries that need some time in order for this awareness or this movement to gain traction into the country. I think it will be a more effective measure according to me. Coming to the fourth point will be the, of course, if say that this step has been taken by an athletic body, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of money, a lot of resources will be first uh, used in the making or in the implementing this step. Now during that time, of course, every organization has a fixed amount of resources to be spent, and while we are in those initial years, while they are more and while they are the athletic bodies are trying more and more in order to form the conditions acceptable and comfortable for the gender queer people. In that scenario, there might be a chance that the male and female categories of the sports might get declined. Not declined, except in one case they might get neglected. Now, of course, we cannot see this as a effective mode of action, because along with the gender queer people, of course, the other male and female categories of sports is also important. And in doing so, I think that this move must be taken in a gradual step, and a sudden step like this must not be taken. I'll be opening my speech for POIs. Yes.
When do you think that the timeline that you're trying to mention, that we will finally reach that awareness, when do you feel that that timeline is going to end, that we'll get the awareness? And how do we know suddenly that today we are ready for accepting the gender norms, and we can now to make the changes? How do you reach that conclusion?
The ideal time to take this step effectively will be when we can see a majority of the people are at least aware or at least informed of this people. Of course, taking by scenario, there is no standard measure how we can measure the time or how we can say at this point it is effectively there. But taking a radical step, of course, is not going to help it in any way. Giving people time to understand, giving people time to aware is of course there's no standard measure by which as this house, might say at this point onwards, it is best for these people to compete in sports. But taking a radical move also now is not an ideal move. And I would like to state my speech with one more point, that the general queer people, of course, along the globe, they conduct movement campings in order to say that they should get recognition in the society. They must be treated as they must be treated equal to the people. Now, when we saying that we need to create a different category of sports for gender queer people, isn't that actually going against the very theme of the gender queer people, that they should be treated equal to the other members of the society? If we are saying that we are going to create a different category of sports, then the major essence of them is to gain the same recognition, and to see people as and for the people to see them as the equalize as the other humans. Then of course creating another category of sports for them isn't going to help to their very aim at the first place. With this, I would like to end my speech. Thank you.
I thank the leader of opposition for his opening speech, and now I call upon the DPM, the Deputy Prime Minister, to further the case from side opening government. Here. I would also appreciate if people could just unmute and clap for all our participants, because I do believe it is important for the morale, and everybody know that we are involved and invested. All right, let's go. The DPM, I believe, is Praval Raj. Am I right?
Okay, so good evening, everyone. This is Praval Raj Mishra. And coming to the counter arguments, as well, there are rebuttals that can be presented to counter these arguments. So the first thing was revenue generation versus the inclusivity. While revenue generation is indeed important for the sports organization, it should not come at the expense of inclusivity as well as the fairness. Creating a third category for the genderqueer athletes is not solely about the revenue, right? It's about providing equal opportunity for all athletes to compete comfortably and fairly. Inclusivity can also be financially beneficial in the long term by attracting a wider audience and sponsorship from the company that value diversity as well as inclusion. And also coming to the second, if I may address gender equality implementation in different countries. You took an example of Saudi Arabia and Middle Eastern countries, which are yet to come, accept the fact of this gender queer people. It's true that gender equality initiates may progress at different rates in various countries, including Saudi Arabia and others. However, progress should not be delayed indefinitely while waiting for other countries to catch up, right? Implementing a third category for gender-queer athletes within the World Athletics body can serve as a catalyst for change, encouraging countries to address gender equality issues within their own sporting systems and various sports organization. Also, coming to this, the third point which you mentioned, resource allocations. Sporting organization will be out of the resource if they include the rights of the genderqueer people into the consideration. While see, it's important to consider resource allocation. Neglecting the needs of genderqueer athletes undermines the principle of fairness and inclusivity. Sports organization can explore creative solutions, right? Such as seeking additional funding or reallocating resources from less essential areas to support creation of the third category without compromising the overall operation of athletic this. Also, the point of this need for the time and incremental change, like it has to change with the time. While incremental change is something necessary, there are moments when bold and decisive action has to needed to address systematic inequalities effectively. Waiting for an indefinite period may perpetuate discrimination and exclusion for genderqueer athletes. It's crucial to prioritize their rights, right, and well-being by taking proactive steps towards inclusivity now, at least to start the step. Also, the fifth point which you mentioned was radical moves with the pragmatism. While it's important to consider the practical implication of the policy changes, radical moves are sometimes necessary to achieve meaningful progress, right? Especially in the areas where systematic and discrimination persists. I believe like creating a third category for genderqueer athletes represent a pragmatic response to the long-standing exclusion they have faced in traditional sporting frameworks. It's necessary steps towards a more equitable and inclusive sports community. Also, coming to the examples, I would love to lay down on the examples. So let us by examining recent examples from our own country. The challenges faced by the genderqueer athlete in the traditional sports categories. In the If you remember this 2018 Asian Games, we witnessed a groundbreaking participation of the Swara, an athlete from India who identifies as non-binary, and her presence at the game sparked a conversation about the need for inclusive policies that recognize and respect the diverse gender identity of athletes. Despite Swara's remarkable talent and dedication to their sport, they were forced to compete in a category that did not align with their gender identity, right? Underscoring the urgent need for change. Similarly, if you remember this case of Nandini, the transgender athlete who competed in the same games, Nandini's journey to the Asian Game was marked by challenges and obstacles. We all know that, including discrimination and lack of support from sports governing bodies and various government organizations, etc. Despite these barriers, Nandini's participation served as a powerful reminder of the resilience and determination of the genderqueer athletes in the face of difficulties and the adversities they face. However, these experience also shed light on the urgent need for policies that accommodate the unique identities and experiences of the transgender and non-binary athletes. You know, I could go on with the examples. If remember this Chris Moiser, a transgender athlete, also the New Zealand triathlete Laurel Hubbard. The list never ends. But moreover, the absence of designated category for the genderqueer individual can have detrimental effects on their mental health also and well-being. That should also be taken into consideration, right? Many transgender and the non-binary athletes are forced to compete in the categories that do not align with their gender identities, leading to the feelings of depression or dysphoria, as well as the exclusion from the sporting background. This is not only undermines the ability to perform at their best, but also perpetuates harmful stereotypes and discrimination within the sporting community. In response to these challenges, the creation of third category presents a viable solution that promotes inclusivity as well as the fairness in the sports. By providing a designated space for the genderqueer athletes, we can at least ensure that they are not only included but celebrated for their talents and contribution to the sporting world. This is not about segregating athletes, I must say, based on their gender identity, but rather recognizing the unique experiences and need of genderqueer individuals within the realms of athletics. However, it is important to acknowledge the potential counter arguments to this proposal. Critics may raise concerns about the feasibility and logistics of implementing a third category, just like how you did, citing the need for standard criteria and regulation for the participation. They may argue that creation of such a category could undermine the integrity of competitive sports, leading to confusion and unfair advantages. In response, we must emphasize the importance of collaboration and consultation in the development of inclusive policy and guidelines. By working closely with the athletes, coaches, as well as the stakeholders, we can address the logistical challenges and ensure that the creation of third category upholds the integrity of the sports while respecting the diversity of its participants. Okay, so in conclusion, so by creating a third category for the genderqueer individual within the world athletic body, we can send a powerful message of acceptance as well as the affirmation to the athletes of all identities. So let us seize this moment to embrace diversity in athletics and create a more inclusive future for all athletes. Thank you.
I thank the DPM for the speech, and now to further the case from side opposition, we have the deputy leader of op. Here.
Well, just give me a confirmation if I am visible and
Yeah, we can see
audible
you
enough.
and hear you. You're good.
Okay. So just give me a couple of seconds. I have to set my timer. Okay. So panel, I'll be standing here. I'll be speaking up as a deputy leader of opposition, and I proudly oppose this case. And panel, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. So panel, understand that this is an ACTA motion. So government had the burden to prove why creating a third category of sports would not create any change in the status quo. We will prove why the step will take the changes and impact that LGBTQ movement had made in that it had made in the past 40 to 50 years. OP has a simple burden since it is an after motion that we go on to prove that World Athletics body, whom we represent here, is going to gain nothing but to lose many things since implementing this major step. Well, understand that the major problems faced by this step is that there will be no recognition in the third world countries. We're still giving at least women giving equal rights to women is a myth, and it's a taboo, seemed as a taboo. Creating and sending people as who identify themselves as gender queer as representing their nation in at a global level by an athletics will create a will it will be facing heavy backlash from that countries and will face denial. So when we here as world athletic body will face heavy backlash. But I also understand that this will create more stereotype as when you are competing in a other category. Well, understand that the sportsmanship will be politicized as where the winning the prizes or gaining the medals will be more important rather than having the true sportsmanship, as you can easily jump into the other sector for the competition. Well, understand that this backs up to the current status and the present scenario where the LGBTQ movement has reached. It will push them to more than 50 years, and this will face a heavy backlash where countries still need to push up for the equal representation of men and women to a global level. We standing here as a we representing the global athletics body, when we put up on a third category for the competition, will face heavy backlash. Also understand that there is very less viewership. Well, understand that when the yeah, understand that this is the major issue. What they face is that the major they face identity criteria when they wanted to be wanted to treat it be equal as men and women. When you creating a third category will create some sense of disparity among them. Also it is when coming up to the certain rebuttals and explaining the points further. When what my first speaker said, when they say about recognition and respect, panel understand what major impact it is going to create. Panel understand that due to promotion of for some handful of people, what impact you are creating is like a heavy backlash from the major country. And when the government side come and say that this is a we will here, by taking this certain step, we will catalyze the change, panel understand that they fail to picturize the impact of our action being taken at now. When they come and say about the burden of viewership, panel, this is we here standing as a world athletic body do not have the burden for the acceptance of the people to accept that this third gender quality, or to accept people worldwide that sorry for that, people accept this third category as a globally for the equal rights. We lie here on the burden of resource utilization, financial issues, and the lack of standardization. But I understand that the financial problem will be very heavy. We will, when they come and say upon resource utilization, we will not have this uh, enough ROI from this step, as we will have to invest a invest a large amount of resource, mainly on human resource as well as financial resource, and we will not get that return of investment, which either comes in the form of viewership or in the terms of advertisement. Well, please understand that all these changes cannot be bought in 1 or 2 days, or within a couple of weeks. This is a collective efforts of over thousands of years. Coming back to the same examples, we're still giving women rights to drive, or marriage to the same gender is very difficult in certain countries. You promoting them and allowing them to represent their nation at a global level is still very difficult. Also note that there is always a strong opposition to these rights by the right orientation and conservative in these countries. Financial income and viewership, the mainly focus emphasizing on this point, as a movement itself is relatively new and eccentric to a limited countries. Even in the west, the amount of people investing their time in watching a group of sports which already has a lower viewership globally for a third gender impacts the income, viewership, and the sponsorship. So when you come and say upon promoting these steps, it will create they are fail to understand the impact of the current impact what they are going to create. Well, this is very important point to be noted, that what current impact we are going to create. I think the time is protected, if I'm not wrong. Panel, please tell me. Oh, it's protected.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
sorry.
have to
Okay,
go on.
so summarizing my whole speech, and what my first speaker come and say, that when you catalyze such kind of reaction, such kind of radical changes, and at a very shorter period of time, when you when you stand and represent a world athletic body at a global level, you will face heavy backlash. And the whole idea for which you are standing, which is sportsmanship, and the major promotion of major sports across the world, where still sports has not reached the major world, you promoting such changes will face heavy backlash and denial of the participants from the major other countries of this part. And putting upon the burdens, we take upon the case, and by this points I rest my case, panel.
All right. We thank the deputy leader of opposition for the speech. And now, with the closing half done, we would like to see with the opening half done, we would like to see the closing half added on here. Um, all right. I would like Nitin and Rohit to turn on their cameras so that we can get started. Um, and now we are looking at the chargers who are now going in as the closing government. From the Chargers, we have Astha and Vitala from right now. And from the closing opposition, we have Mithun and Rohit here. That's nice. And with that, I would like to invite a member of the government to open the case from side closing government. Here, here.
So, greetings to the panel and hello everyone. This is Astha from the team MVIT Charges. So, I'm in the closing government, and so I will start my case with three important points: popularity and business, inclusive, and the third point is inclusivity and diversity. So the first thing is we already know that there are very less mainstream sports like cricket and football. There are not many sports or athletics that are recognized by the masses. So when we create a separate category for queers, then the popularity will go to the next level, because the queer movement is so popular, and for the last 10 years, both in TV, music and pop culture, this movement has picked up some strength, and the masses have started to identify with this movement. So this movement will benefit the sports authority and other sports to come into the mainstream spotlight, so that it is not so that it's not occupied by two or three mainstream sports. So we by including a separate category for queers, we can increase popularity of other sports. The second point is business. This is in regard with the uh, authority, the World Athletics Authority. So how can World Athletics Authority benefit from this creation of this category? This point, the which the opening government has failed to recognize. So I would like to throw some light upon this. So the thing is, because since these sports are not popular, so viewership decreases. Since viewership decreases, they get less sponsorship from brands and MNCs. So when you take a global trend of queer movement and all that, and then you juxtapose it with the uh, sports thing, then the popularity will increase, so it will create more viewership and more demand for such kind of sports, and people will start to recognize it. Now the business, so the MNCs and brands will identify this trend in the market. They will try to pick up the trend. So in this case, the World Athletics Authority, it can get more funds to organize various competitions, and to ensure facilities for players in both the mainstream categories like male, female. And so by creating a third category, we can ensure benefits for other categories as well. So, so the third thing is inclusivity and diversity. By including a third category of queers, we will have recognition at the global level. So the masses, and so people who are who, who who are a part of the masses, who are a part of this community, they will feel heard, seen, and they will feel like finally their issues have come to the light. So they'll feel like they are finally being heard and seen by the global audience. So this inclusivity and diversity thing will be an added advantage to this fact also. So there were few points that were covered by the leader of opposition. So he was like, since the gender fluidity term is a broad blanket term, and there is no way to check whether a person is whether identifies with a certain gender, is like they actually belong to that gender or not, or they are just identifying it with it. So So here comes the model that the opening government has proposed. They said that the medical tests would be conducted, all the examination would be conducted. So this will be taken care of. When medical tests are conducted, we can ensure the sports authority can ensure fairness in including like in involving these kind of participants. So there would be no question of unfair advantage to this queer community. Also, there have been many examples because in the past, recently there was a ban that was uh, there was a ban made on the transgender community to stop them from participating in women's category. Now why it was done? Because women felt they had an unfair advantage over them. So they had an unfair advantage over them. So uh, so this is why we need a separate category, so that the mainstream categories uh, like uh, don't feel like the categories that are involved with them have an unfair advantage. We have two examples. We have one example of Leah Thomas. So Leah Thomas, she identified as a male before transitioning to female. So she participated in female swimming competition, and she won that. Before, when she was a male, she was a moderate champion. So the thing is, this was an unfair advantage because there were no other categories for them to participate. So and another example is Caitlyn Jenner. Like, there have been so many examples of people from the queer community participating in the mainstream communities and bringing a bad name to their own community by involving in unfair practices and gaining unfair advantage over mainstream categories. So this is the to tackle this, we definitely need a separate category. And one of the points by leader of opposition was neglection of mainstream categories. So to counter this, we say that neglection of mainstream categories can only happen if third category is not created. If every community gets involved with the mainstream category, then they will have more chances of getting neglected. But when we create a separate category, that will uh, that won't that will ensure that the mainstream categories are not neglected. So we definitely need we definitely need a third category for queers, and the rest of the points will be expanded by my teammate. So I would like to rest my case by saying this. Thank you.
I thank the member of government for the speech, and I call upon the member of opposition to open the case from side closing opposition. Please give me 1 minute. I just need to complete my notes for a minute. Yep, I'm ready for the member of opposition whenever they're ready. Here.
Before I start off, can I just know if my voice is crystal clear to everyone?
Your voice is clear, and your name is Mithun. So yeah, all right,
Yes.
let's go, Mithun.
So, I'll be starting my speech off in 3, 2, 1. First of all, greetings to the panel. First of all, let's understand what we got from the opening side and first, and let's also see what we got from the government from the closing side as well. First, the general points lies in three sectors. One, that there is more participation due to separate category as proposed by the opening side as well as the closing government side. Second, they also stress upon points regarding there will be no recognition because they would be lying under either males or female team, or they might be either neglected because everyone might not be same gender. So also some points include as in how participation is different, inequality can be addressed, and also things like viewership and everything I have said. I'll be completely splashing off these points in a single two-way point. One, finally understand the status quo that we live in already is where these kinds of people are already marginalized. One. So let us assume that this situation already is in favor that they are allowed to play in these male or female teams already. Now, considering that 99% of these people already watch either male or female sports already, giving that there is a separate category, meaning that you can never expect the same 99% to come and watch there. It's the same meaning as that you want to just go out of the main viewership population, and then you still want to expect the same amount of viewership. And just considering that going away from what you already were having a higher viewership count and still expect the same while having a separate category that can actually increase the popularity is utter bullshit. Coming to the same thing as in how there'll be more lesser recognition as proposed by the government side. Let me just brief it about you. As this is completely a false case. As in, one, if they already be marginalized and they come in a separate category, also we cannot expect a majority of percentage to also watch the sports. There's absolutely no recognition, though sure that who's going to actually watch them. Is it almost going to be the same minority population that's going to watch the same sports? Can you still expect the same 99% to come and watch? No, there's no recognition already. Second, they're already going to be neglected. They're already neglected in gender other terms in public society apart from sports. Now consider that there is a separate sports game where they propose that it will be more equal because of their hormonal differences, biological differences is completely utter bullshit. Where I'll be speaking in the rest of my case. But their entire case where they lie upon telling that they want to come out of a mass viewership already present in male and female sports, and they can still expect that same in a separate category which already lies a small minority of people, and they want to come out and they just say that this is still possible is utter bullshit without a single republic. Now coming to what they actually told about the financial points. One, you need to understand that since they're already a small set of people and they come out of mainstream sports categories, male and female, and they come out as a small category already. As I already explained, that they'll have lesser viewership. First, second, they already have lesser participation. Why would even the sports corporations spend more into these teams, which already is increasing the inequality at the first place rather than actually addressing it? Right, it's just on paper that it looks that it has been addressed, but then later on the future side, it is still going to be having way lesser funding than the male and the female team for sure. Where you have 50% of the population who's actually ready watching at least one gender sports at least, and then you're going to come up and say there's one person who just wanted to have a separate category, and you still want to expect them to have the same amount of funding and support to actually come up and just compete and just show break the records in with respect to the other genders is absolutely bullish. Now, coming to also the fact in for this, there is a point of lesser resource allocation, which I already explained that these sports corporations are never going to spend the same amount of money that they're going to give to these same transgender people, knowing that there's lesser ownership and viewership in these categories. Now, coming to the burden that I expected from the government at first is how it addresses inequality at the first place, right? Because they are actually coming out of a separate two gender categories and they expect to be more equal when they come to a separate category. Now, first of all, let's understand that the current status quo, that world that we live in, is not where we already have separate features and facilities for trans or transgender people or the separate category genders already. Do we have separate do we have separate transgender washrooms? No. Do we have separate locker rooms for that? No. Do we have separate general job applications or anything in public that actually already favor them in gender? No. So when you actually just go on and just tell them that, you know what, in just in sports, you're going to have a separate category and you're going to still think that this is going to solve the equality, which other things like, government side or public sectors do not actually solve, is at least bullshit. At least without an example, I'm not going to even take that point. Now, since I've already explained
you have 2 POIs if you want to take 5 minutes up.
Okay. Is there any POI? Prime Minister. Yes, I'll take the POI.
Go on.
Do you have accountability as to why no additional category should be created for gender minorities?
Yes, here's the thing. Now, if they already want to address themselves as a male or female at one point, and they still want to expect, when they come on in mainstream sports, and they still want to expect some viewership, some some fame or recognition. As I already told, let's assume that this is the status quo where they're allowed to play as a male or female team. Now, if you just allow them to play, one, the whole point of as in how viewership and recognition is already solved, as I told in the speech. Second, when I come to biological differences, if you want to just address that they are just biologically different because they have higher testosterone levels, you can also then how would you even match it as in you're going to make someone with higher testosterone play with the same person with having higher testosterone? You're going to give a separate category for everyone who are just going to change the genders. So you're going to make someone who's going to play with higher testosterone with someone who's going to have some other hormone like estrogen or estrogen, etc. Now, if it was really about all about biologicals, then just talk about how height difference actually matter. Like there are people even among males or female teams who have different heights, who have different genetics, who have different physical or medical conditions. So in those cases too, in this sort of inequality still exists, right? But you just want to give them because they just belong to a separate gender, and you think that they address inequality better, which are already rebutted in my speech. Now, coming to the last point, but one point that government had actually proposed is that this was one that one person had unfair advantages because given that that person had extra hormonal differences and they could actually do better in another gender. So this is kind of an unfair advantage. Tell me, how is that actually going to get helped in another category that they're going to never, where you can never expect them to be actually participating with someone with their own levels? It cannot. Are you really placing them with the same people who are having the same medical conditions, the same testosterone levels, etc.? No, you're just generally categorizing everyone who is changing their genders. It could be male to female, female to male, anyone. So this is a direct account or attack on cisgenders in general, because now since you're just clubbing them all together, there is much more inequality in that category compared to the male and female counterparts. So I think that point is clear over there. In general, if there's any other POI, okay, yeah, time's up. Okay, cool. So here I'll be resting my case and my okay, members, sure. Good. Right.
I thank the member of opposition for his speech. And now to close the government bench, we have Vitala Chaitanya. Here.
Am I audible? Cool. I'm the last member of government from the side of Gov, and I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1, go. I'll understand the first case that where this motion is set. The motion is set about interqueer people. The motion is set that whether there should be a special category provided, different category provided for queer people. It's not about how many queer people are there or how would they identify. This is not an intra-queer issue. This is an issue where we are focusing on there should be a different category other than male and female sports to the queer people because of their physical and psychological uniqueness. Panel understand the whole of the opposition house completely failed to understand this basic issue, why the motion is set. Here they have lost the complete accountability to explain to you as to why there should be no category created. As of we explain you why there is a need of category creation. We clearly come here and my member explains to you that the creation of this category is as necessary as of why women sports was created in the first place, to give them a level playing field. Just because we are humans, we can't allow men and women to compete against each other in a wrestling match. That will be the uttermost stupidity that is coming from the side of opposition. How can the side of opposition ignore such a crucial issue, such a crucial criteria to understand the queerness and their identity? Coming to the major point where we told this, this sports promotes inclusivity and promotes the movement. Now, when the women's sports were introduced in the first place, many countries didn't support them. Many countries called this is a joke. But today, after all, in the 2024 Paris Olympics, equal amounts of men, equal amounts of women are participating here. Though there are different categories, it's an identity creation. This is a long-term energy. We are not sitting here and asking them whether today we are gonna get 5,000 players or 5,000 sportsmen. This is a leveling playing field for the people to come, for the generations to come, for the world to accept the queerness of the world. It's not about treating the marginalized people and keeping them under the shadows that they shouldn't be allowed in the limelight. Now, coming to the opening and closing opposition, I really do not understand what was the complete case of the opening opposition. They clearly tell that creating a different category would create much more inequality. How? They do not explain you on what basis this is going to create inequality. As of where we are here to explain to you, there is minimum psychosis when a person is transitioned from one gender to other gender, which is very essentially in what which was explained by our side. My member clearly explained to you how their physical and psychological uniqueness is important as to recognize and represent their identity. Panel, understand, we give you the three important answers to as of why motion is set. Now, why? This is an equal playing field for both the queer people of all categories. Now, what is the impact? Representation, recognition of this minority, and understanding the queerness instead of hating them in the mainstream medias. Now, in the day where many countries have declared them as terrorists, will one day gonna accept them if they start winning and competing in sports and they're gonna get sponsorship? I'll understand on what basis does a closing opposition first speaker tells you that they are not going to get the same scale of viewership, same scale of sponsorship. This is not the scale of competing in the same scale. This is a case of representation. This is the scale of awareness. In the end of the day, we are going to end up in a better world where people don't hate each other for being queer. They accept queerness. They see queerness as a unique thing. This is the point where we are arguing that the playing field should be leveled up. Now, today, women's football is not as big as men's football, but it is big enough to give them a respect, identity, and also the level playing field to represent themselves. This was the core argument made by the closing government. We gave the clear example of Leah Thomas as of how she was hated because she had the biological advantage of being a male. We gave you clear disparity of what these people face. Imagine, panel, imagine being a queer where everyone hates you in this world and you don't have any identity. If you play in the men's sports, you're gonna be crushed out. And if you play in the women's category, if you win, you'll be hated by the world. What is the other option left? This is the factor of accountability which we bring to you on this table as to represent people. This is the point where the both opening and closing opposition fails to give you us why this category creation is not important. They do not have any accountability. They bring to you that, oh, there is a female who can transition to male and then a male transition to female. Both are queer under this umbrella. They're gonna they're gonna they're gonna play in the different categories as of there are weight classes in wrestling. This is not an intra-queer issue as to of what infrastructure we are going to give them, what scale of representativeness we are going to give them. This is a scale. This is an attempt to create awareness. I take your POI later. Now, coming to the core case, we give you the strength of the momentum as the movement, the whole queer movement picks up a momentum in order to understand this, in order to understand how this is important and also how it is important to respect and treat the queer people equally as humans. Why cannot the marginalized people given a right to represent or given an opportunity to recognize themselves? Is this the inhuman world which the opposition argues? I'm really sad to say this, but the opposition has completely failed to understand the case. They put forward no quality points as to how stopping the different classes would create an equal opportunity or a better world. They would still remain in the death blow or a war debate in order to create a complete discourse between men, women, and queer people. This is not the war we want. We want a world where people accept each other, where people compete with their own leveling fields, which is what equity offers from the side of feminism. This is the case which was brought by my member government as to how inclusivity increases and brand sponsorship increases, as to how brands incline to target the queer customers. This is what we clearly tell you, that end of the day, we are gonna have a world where there is a new class, there is a new opportunity, there is a new market strength to grow, there is a new set of people, new set of customers, new trends. This is the world of acceptance, and this is the world of evolution which the closing side offers you, and the complete side of opposition disagrees, and we take the case. Thank you.
I thank the government whip for the closing arguments from side government, and now I hope to call upon the op whip to close the case from the op side and also complete the debate. Here, here.
Yeah, so just a second. Am I audible? Am I visible? Yeah, so when I'll say start, then only start the timer. Okay, so hello everyone, all the judges and juries presented here. I'm Rohit and I have no gender pronouns, and my speech starts in 3, 2, 1. So, as we all know, what was the topic? What was the motion? It was simply, in our case, it was that there is no need of creating basically a different platform or to organize certain things in a different way. So, let's talk about what my teammate came and said to you. In his point, it was more about no recognition and also less sponsorship, uh, less people. And so, let me tell you how is it true and why it is not applicable. So less people is why, because how, tell me how many people are there in this world who are considered as different, right? They are a very certain group of people. So if we take an example of football match, everybody knows Messi, Ronaldo, everyone is talking about giving them equal rights. Just name me 5 or 6 women footballers which you know, which team won the last World Cup. So if you come in the reality, if you talk about reality, it's far more different from what we are talking here. We are just talking, the government is saying that we should create awareness, we should create, it's just for the sake of awareness, it's for making the society a good place so that there is no inequality. Then what, the very first thing that you are doing the inequality by creating a different platform for such people, right? This is what I want to say. You are just keeping the sportsmanship a bit lower for all those people. Uh, what's the drawbacks of creating a new platform is basically the equality. If you're talking about giving them a new space for, or giving a new space for all those people that are not considered as or considered as male or female. So in practical implementation, you are saying we are going to raise fund, but how is it possible? Only just go in the outer world. Everyone wants to earn money. Everyone wants to invest in the male IPL team because they know they'll get them that much amount of money. First of all, no one is going to take that much amount of risk. And if you are getting that much amount of money, so why not we should focus on the particular system we have? Why to create a different system? So I would like to add some more points here, which simply contradicts what they said. It will simply create a downward or basically a downfall in the confidence of the sports person. They will feel in the back of the mind that okay, I'm being treated as a different person. Okay, I'm different. Oh, my sports is different from others. So what's the meaning of that? I'm giving my full attention, but still you are saying I'm creating certain platforms for them. So let's come about some rebuttals. The closing government says that they have if queer people are allowed, then it will get more viewership. How is it possible? You said that less viewership is there because okay, tell me, is there any famous personality who is going to come and show and who will come and simply play cricket or football? Do you know any five people who are very famous and who are going to contribute in this? And also, you said funding can be done to improve all those infrastructure. Why to invest that much amount of money when you can simply invest all those money to improve the particular supporting system? Now you are saying that it will create diversity and all. So how can you say the diversity is maintained? You know the LGBTQ is getting in trend, and they are coming with lots of genders, A plus, B plus, B minus, I don't know what they are. So for every time they create a new gender, are you going to make certain changes in that? It is going to become more and more complex, right? You said that uh, if LGBTQ approves, or I've already mentioned this point. So you said the DPM from the government side, he said it serves as a catalyst for the change in the world. I feel that it is not going to serve as a catalyst, bro. It's simply creating hindrance, right? If you are coming with certain ideas and ideologies, then you have to convince a lot of people for that. You said someone said that it's all about awareness and all. How you are going to implement this in in the countries which has simply banned all these things? Are you going to implement this in UAE? Are you going to implement this in Saudi Arabia, countries like in Gulf countries? Are they going to allow it? On geopolitical level, if you are going to understand this, it is simply not applicable. Many things, if we are speaking just verbally, it doesn't mean that it's going to be applicable perfectly. There are some reasons for which it's not going to be practically possible, right? And
We have a couple of POIs coming in if you are willing to take them.
no, I have a lot of points. So everyone talked about it will gain so much viewership. How many of you know about Paralympics? Have you really watched it? Many of you cannot give exceptions as an example. I repeat, no panel try to understand. We are just coming with an exception. You gave an example of that particular Lisa, whatever her name was. These all are exceptions. You cannot count this as an example for the whole world. So it's better we should focus on how we should create a good and healthy environment for all the people out there. It's simply you are dividing them on the basis of certain genders, that you belong to this, we are creating some other rules. What if how can you design the complex rules and regulations? How you're going to manage all those eligibility criteria? How you're going to manage all those how you're going to manage all those hormonal changes? There is no practical machine for that. So to sum up everything, I want to say it's practically not going to be possible. It's practically not possible. So better we should focus on what and how we can enhance the sports system rather than dividing into certain categories. It will only downgrades the confidence of the sports person. Thank you, panel. Thank you.
Well, I thank Rohit for closing out the debate for us. And with that, we complete the first round of DPL 2.0. Here. Now, please give the panel 15 minutes to discuss the verdict, and we will be back. Thank you. All right, folks. I'm not too sure if I can start giving out the verdict. All right, fair enough. So, in our we were able to get into a mutual consensus with the decision pretty quickly, and based on the points that were made and all of it, I will first go ahead and I will talk about what we thought of the debate, how high or low we rank the debate to go, and then from there on, uh, I will give out the verdict starting from number 4 to number 1. And I believe the captains have been sent a Google Meet link, which I would urge all participants and all viewers to join so that we can discuss the debate, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions behind my verdict. Right. So firstly, we rated the debate to be below average to average debate, with a good number of points being made. A nice collection of parallels ran throughout the debate, and there was good level of engagement on those parallels. But there were a few pointers which were just made as assertions, which could have been elaborated on more beautifully, and all, and not just talking about those parallels, but beyond that, the scope of the debate and where the debate could have gone. That is something that we can discuss in the Google Meet. So the reason we call it below average to average is because there is sufficient engagement, but there are still pointers that stood out from literally almost every part of the house, and we believe that they could have been taken down, hence the below average to average rating. Now, talking about our rankings, firstly, we at the fourth place, we have the opening op. At the third place, we have the opening government. At the second place, we have the closing op. And at the first place, we have the closing government. Right. So the reason why OO gets fourth is because most, if not every point, uh, most points made by the opening opposition were taken down by the DPM, and the elaboration that came out from the DLO did not be sufficiently good enough to take down what the DPM said and further the case of the opening opposition. Now, coming to the reason why the OG loses out to the CO, everything that the OG said almost actively was taken down by the closing opposition, who came out there and told, in status quo, how are you going to effectively implement whatever policy that you have suggested? Right. Now, yes, I do understand that there was no way where you could have directly engaged with them, but at the same time, most of these points were also confronted by the opening opposition. But just because you had a couple of points over them is why you rank third. But at the same time, those points were taken down by the closing op, because of which they rank second and you rank uh, one of you rank third and the other rank second. Now, the reason why closing op takes two and the closing gov wins it, right? One, the closing gov successfully was able to introduce a new perspective. Two, the opposition, the closing op in specific, was not able to tackle the questions that came up from the government. Three, while the closing op did a good job of trying to promote the status quo and tell that the status quo is equally bad, they stuck on to the status quo situation so hard that they were not able to tackle the other components, which the member of government and the government whip, both of them, had put forward. Right. If there are any questions or comments, if you want to type it out in the chat, please do, or else I could just jump on to the other one, the Google Meet. Please.
Bhaiya, I think we jump up to the Google Meet to clarify any of the doubts and further feedback. I would really like to take this time and thank you for joining us for the session and chairing the session today. With this, I'd like to just end the YouTube stream and then we can just head to the Google Meet. Thank you so much for today. I hope everyone has had a good time. See you. Good night.
Yes. See you guys.